Techthusiasm live podcast.
That's what I call an entrance.
Time to go live.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I hope that was a much cooler entrance than the normal 30-second boring countdown. Yes, I've continued to play around with some of the AI video generation tools in the last couple weeks, so expect some more, hopefully fun things to come out of that. Normally, we just kind of be hanging out, talking about the project, which continues to go. The vlogs are posting. Vlog 7 will probably come out on Wednesday. We're up through vlog 6 is fully published. But we've got a special topic today. We've got a special guest. So I want to welcome Mr. Chris Shaw from Focal. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, everyone. How are you? How are you doing today, Jeremy?
Very well. Very well. How's your day going?
You know, it's wonderful. It's Thanksgiving here in Canada, so I was able to step away from the family for a little bit to come hang out with you guys. So
awesome. Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you.
Cool. So we're here to talk about Focal speakers. Of course, in the project that's going on right now, the big cornerstone, one of the big cornerstone upgrades that I've got going on is the 1000 series Utopias. We did the 1000 series, including the Utopias in the theater here early this year. And so I'm a big fan of the brand. I've been using the speakers for years, and we want to kind of dig into the products and yeah, have some fun talking about some awesome stuff. So Chris, if you would go ahead and introduce yourself.
So my name is Chris Shaw. I'm the North American product specialist for Focal and Name. Of course, so I work for Focal Name America. Now we are not only Focal, but of course we're Name. Focal manufacturing speakers out of the middle of France, and Name manufacturing electronics out of the southern part of the UK. So I kind of handle both products for training and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yep. So if anybody went to Audio Device Live or any of the shows, you're probably seen Chris running some demos and talking about the products there. Tell folks a little bit about like maybe some Focal history, any kind of where did Focal come from? What's the interesting elements of Focal's history?
Well, I mean, we can. We could spend an hour just talking about the history of Focal, to be honest with you. But to give you the Coles notes, the company itself was started in 1979 by our founder Jacques Mahal. The idea of this is that Jacques was basically an audio engineer for another manufacturer, and just basically decided that he was tired of building products based on price points and limitations that way. And so basically started the company. And again, we were actually kind of two companies at one point in time. We were actually JM Labs, or Jacques Mahal Labs, and Focal on the other side. JM Labs developing loudspeakers and Focal developing drivers for other manufacturers. So we ran both those name sets for many years. Until basically everything was brought over to the name Focal. Gosh, I'm trying to think. It was probably in the mid 2000s. I think that's kind of where that transitioned. Of course, with it is that over our lifespan so far. I mean, we got started in doing loudspeakers, so floor standing home residential speakers. From there, we expanded to do automotive audio. We do pro audio. We do headphones. Gosh, what else do we do? Custom install products, obviously. With it, we do new media. And of course, with the purchase of Name in 2011, creating the Focal Name Group, we now do electronics, under our portfolio. So we've been around a long time doing lots of things.
Excellent. Yeah. So we wanted to focus a little bit today on a bit more of like the kind of architectural stuff. That's what I've been using in my setups for a while now. I love the architectural lines. Let's walk through those a little bit. I think we have like three architectural lines. Is that right? You can take us kind of through the.
Well, actually, just as of recently, we are at 4 collections within the CI line, and so kind of give you the little bit of again history of that is that back in about 2016, 2017, we kind of we were doing really well in car and headphones and everything else, and we decided that we would start over in our CI line. And so with that is that we scrapped our entire CI line, redeveloped it from scratch, and we wanted to really accomplish 4 things by doing so. First is that we want to take all the really cool, unique cone materials that we have in our floor sanding products, and then bring those into our custom install product lines. So that's our polyglass, our flax cone, our W sandwich cone technologies, and then and start using those on our CI line. The second one is that we wanted to make it really very simple for our clients. We created a good, better, best scenario. So in this case, we had a 100 series, a 300 series, and a 1000 series. Now, as of late, we've launched our new Utopia Cinema product, which is the best of the best of the best at that point in time within our collections. So we wanted to make it simple for not only our the consumers, but also a lot of our retail partners as well. The third one is that we created a lot of unique products, things like ICW as an example. This is a product that has has multiple applications within a single product model, so that this particular ICW could be used in ceiling or in wall. And of course, probably the most important feature that we wanted to accomplish was that when we looked at the custom install portfolios or basically world out there, is that we saw this really huge battle between integration and performance. And the reality is that performance, 99 out of 100 times, performance always lost out to integration. Which means that it had to look good before it sounded good. And so we really wanted to have that 50-50 balance where we weren't sacrificing whether it was cosmetics or performance in either way with any of the products.
So if we go through these a little bit, starting with the 100, kind of what makes a 100 series speaker?
So 100 series is very unique. Is that and I use my air quotes when I use the word entry, our entry level product line, because there is a lot of technology in this product. We're utilizing a polyglass cone technology. So this is one of our oldest cone technologies that we developed, probably about 40 years ago. And the fact is that we're putting our polyglass cone technologies up against where our competitors are tentatively use paper or polypropylene cones. So we're getting a lot more depth, a lot more warmth through the mid-range, a lot more detailed information, just because of the actual cone material itself. That polyglass cone is then paired with a aluminum inverted dome tweeter. Again, major advantages of the inverted dome tweeter is that we get a much wider dispersion or a much larger sweet spot, I guess we'll call it. Yeah. And the fact that with it is that we also have a lot more rigidity, so that we can generally play to a higher frequency without having that distortion or rippling of the cone come in. So 100 series is designed, engineered, and the drivers are built in our French facilities. And of course, with that is that just to hit a certain price point is that we do basically assemble all of these into our facilities in our Asian market with this product.
One of the things I like about this line and on up as well is kind of the cohesiveness, right? You've got a larger LCR, you've got a bookshelf, you've got in-ceiling options, that there's the right options to be able to build out multi-channel setups and build out home theater setups with them.
Oh, exactly. And not only, obviously we're catering to theater, we're catering to distributed audio as well. And then of course with it is that we also offer a 100T application for a lot of our commercial applications. So where we got the 70 volt application product to, not only do your home, but of course do your business as well.
So if we go from the 100 to the 300, what changes?
So Probably the most noticeable change, as you can see, is of course the cone technology. We go from our polyglass cone technology. We now move that up to our flax sandwich cone technology. So, and I know that you and I've talked in the past with Jeremy, but I get a lot of questions, and this is probably the line I get the most questions of what is the cone actually made of? And as I mentioned, it is our flax cone. So it is exactly what we're discussing here. So once the flax seed is harvested, we actually take the byproduct or the rest of the plant and we break that down into fibers, and then we sew that into sheets of linen or cloth, and then we sandwich that between layers of glass fiber. So we're actually using the flax plant for our cone technology.
Is there any particular place where the idea to even try that as a material came from? That it seems it's one of the most unique, I think. In the line.
And man, I'll tell you, I know more about flax than I ever thought I would in my entire life. The truth is that we as humans have been using flax for nearly 1,000 years. We use it for things like insulation. A lot of homes are used. Now the other side of it is that prior to us using cottons, flax was used for textiles and clothing. And then, of course, if you dig way back, flax actually was utilized as a form of armor way back in, gosh, I don't know, the 12th century or something like that. And the reason is that the reason why we would utilize or even investigate the use of flax was that, or I guess how it started is that back in the early 2000s, is that one of our engineers was tasked for, we gave him a list of things, and all right, we want something that's, has lots of strength, lots of rigidity, is very light, has good damping factors. And then we threw the other couple things in, things like possibly could be organic. And probably the most important one is something that we could source locally within France. So the engineer went throughout the country, looked at different things, was playing with things like woven palm leaves as an example. That didn't necessarily pan out, and then up in northern France stumbled across flax, and why flax has really fit the bill is again, it fits our MRD ratio just about ideally. And of course, MRD in our world is mass, rigidity, and damping. So again, the material was really light, being hollow. The rigidity side or the strength side is that flax actually has a very similar molecular structure to Kevlar. So Kevlar, of course, is really strong for car parts. Unfortunately, is not so awesome for speakers, but in this case, the flax was amazing. And being that it's an organic material, it contains roughly 80% cellulose. And cellulose is, it's paper. And of course, we know paper is a really good damping material because we've been using it for speakers for 100 years. Right. The downside of paper is that it's either very weak, or if we make it really strong, it becomes really heavy. So that's how we alter that pie graph of our MRD, and everything that we do is based on MRD or mass, rigidity, and dampening when it comes to developing cones.
So as somebody moves from a 100 to a 300, what would you say some of the key performance characteristics are?
Immediately the detailed the dynamics increase. The detailed information is a lot. It's a lot more expressive. That's got a lot more warmth through the mid range. But on the same note is that it's also has this ability to have this liveliness to it. That it's again, and I think that comes really from that detailed information, that precision that you're getting that's coming off that cone. Now, we're not only upgrading the mid-range and mid-bass drivers, but we're also upgrading the tweeter as well. We're moving from an aluminum tweeter to an aluminum magnesium inverted dome tweeter. So we're basically adding rigidity and adding damping into that tweeter dome without adding weight. So giving us a lot more precision, a lot more detail for the information.
And so the 100 and the 300 are both open back designs, I think.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is there
Now,
any,
the other side is that we're also, and sorry, my apologies. The last point on 300 is that we're now moving from a product that's designed, engineered, and the drivers are built in France and assembled in our China facilities to a now 300 series of product that's 100% hand built in France.
Got it. So into that next question with the open back designs, what is there benefits? Is there pros and cons? What are the trade-offs with an open back versus a sealed?
So the open back application does give you some advantages, being that it will have the ability to extend, some lower in frequency in those cases. The con, I guess I would call it, is that you have to potentially prep a little bit better. I mean, things like insulation, especially up in the ceiling applications where you've got blown in insulation and something like that. You will have to, especially if you're retrofitting, you'll have to do back boxes or bags or whatever it may be, which ultimately still kind of becomes a sealed enclosure at that point in time anyways.
Sure.
Now, of course, with it is that most of our products are engineered to be optimized into a single wall bank. So if you do the quick math on it, based on 16-inch stud banks, they're 16-inch on centers. You're 16 by 3.5 by, the average wall is 8 feet. I think it's about 2.75 cubic feet. So once you start getting less of that enclosure volume, you start losing some of that low end response of the open back. Now, of course, we do have our closed back options as well in the 1000 series. Advantages of that is that it will not change its sonic signature, no matter how big the stud banks width, depths, or heights are. It will remain consistent across the board.
So as we segue into that line, then what are the major changes, upgrades, and characteristics of the 1000?
So, and again, cone technology is the big side of it. One is that we now move to our top technologies. This is our W sandwich cone paired with an inverted beryllium tweeter. So as we move up, again, the beryllium, as an example, becomes a lot more rigid. It becomes a lot more dampened. Is considerably lighter. So we're going to get a lot more definition out of the tweeter. We're going to have the ability to extend, up into the 40 or 50,000 hertz range with this tweeter versus, that 20 to 25,000 hertz range. And I can explain why that's important here. But we're also going to be able to extend, the point of where that tweeter is going to start to break up much farther outside of the audible range. So you're going to get a much cleaner signal all the way, from 20 to 20, basically. Of course, with it is that we're also upgrading the W sandwich cone. This is, again, being our best cone technology. To date, still is our best cone technology. To date, we've had this cone technology for 27 years. The truth is that, of course, our engineers are working every day to try and find a better cone technology. And to date, we still haven't. So, we're at the utmost of technology in the full cal world for cones with the 1000 series. Again, paired with the best of the best for the beryllium tweeters.
And this line, of course, carries into the couple of Utopia models. And break those down a bit.
So with it, and especially if you're new to Focal, is that we do hold the Utopia names, and we only assign the Utopia designation to the best of our products, and that extends into our floor standing products, our car products, our headphones, and our pro audio, and now of course into our custom install line. So when we get up into the Utopia series, and this is even a little bit more unique is that this is a, we're utilizing a different beryllium tweeter that is outside of the 1000 series. It's actually the same tweeter that we use in the 1000 IW LCR Utopia here. It's the same tweeter we're using in our almost $300,000 floor sanding products. So much different tweeter, a little bit larger, a little bit different driver construction or motor structure on this particular unit. Secondly is that we're introducing also some newer technologies into this unit. We're adding M-profile mid-range units. We're giving a lot more flexibility. And of course, in the 1000 series, all of our products are design engineered to fit into standard ceilings and standard walls. Now, sorry.
Go ahead.
Of course, with the 1000 Utopia series is that there is two models. There is the 1000 IW LCR Utopia and the 1000 IW Sub Utopia. When we developed these two models is that we developed them to work independently of each other, but we also built them to work in conjunction with each other. And so this became really interesting when we started to look at what was happening in the theater world. The truth is that we found that there was two things that were kind of missing. One is that we wanted to have a much larger scalable solution, and secondly is that we wanted to have the ability to be what we call evolutable, which means that we could be ready for that next generation of content that's out there.
So these, as they're designed, can fit together in different types of configurations, right? Either with modules, multiple modules, etc. Yeah.
So, and it really comes down to the subwoofer, and that's really what makes the difference. I know that you and I've talked at some of the shows, and we've talked online and so on like that. And we were talking about the evolution of LFE, the LFE channel, we'll call it. Of course, 99% of my dealers that are out there basically are building, and again, even myself, are building theaters based off of, probably about 50-year-old technology. Back in the day when we had film, we had our audio channels. We had down one side of the film, you picture down the middle. Down one side, we had our audio channels, left, center, right. On the other side, we'd have like a left rear, right rear, and a track called LFE. So we had this dedicated low frequency extension track, which of course, we're still placing subwoofers in theaters for that LFE track. But the reality is that, that was wonderful when we had analog content, when you had the film and we had the analog tracks. But things have changed. Evolution has really changed, where when a sound, as an example, a movie soundtrack is engineered, is that objects are generally being moved in a full range application. So, let's imagine a helicopter enters the film from the front left-hand corner of the screen, and then it rotates clockwise around the room. Well, what we found is that the helicopter would move, but the low-end extension would stay in place, because we have one or two or maybe four subwoofers within the room at different locations. But with our system is that we wanted to take advantage of being able to have full range content. And so with this is that we can actually link the 1000 IW Sub Utopia directly to the 1000 IW LCR Utopia, giving us a full range 4-way speaker. And we can do that in all channels. So because of this, and of course there's, I always say there's an asterisk, because the processor has to be capable of being able to decode that content, is that we can now move objects, or basically steer low end energy all the way around the room by having a subwoofer placed on every single channel. Kind of cool, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is what I'm putting in the living room, basically, is a 2-channel setup, but a combination of one Utopia and one subwoofer, IW sub on each side. I didn't use the IW subs, at least yet, in the home theater down here, but I'm really interested to link these up and run them. We've been talking as well offline, and I've mentioned in prior podcasts as I've been debating my amp configurations and how to run these. Can we talk a little bit about that? The Utopia speaker itself is biampable, single ampable or biampable. You can attach the subwoofer module and treat it as one full range speaker, which is what you were kind of recommending, I think, to me as a preferred setup there.
Yeah. So, and again, we wanted to give our end consumers the most amount of flexibility for installation, and so with it is that let's just start with the 1000 IW LCR Utopia. Is that, as I mentioned, it has the single beryllium tweeter, the dual 3-inch mid range, and the 4 6.5-inch mid bass drivers, and of course there is a port or a Nutrix connector on the back of the unit, allowing us to really to connect directly into the 1000 IW sub Utopia, or the sub module. So with that is that we do have 4 jumpers across the front, and of course we have 4 jumpers across the front, and this allows us to really tune and tweak the tweeter, the mid-range, and the mid-bass drivers in level settings. So the tweeter, I think, is -3, 0, and 3, +3 settings. The mid-range is -2, 0, and +2, as well as the mid-bass is -2, 0, and +2 as well. Now, there is a 4th setting on there, right down at the very bottom, and this is actually utilized as a crossover for when we are using the submodules. So we have options of 80, 100, and 120. And the idea of this is that if we want to more based on sound quality, we will set the subwoofer modules at 80. If we want to be high SPL, we'll set the crossover module at 120. And if we want that happy medium, we'll set it at 100. Now, there is 2 additional jumpers on the back of the unit, or I guess on the bottom of the unit by the speaker terminations. And this is by having the jumpers in place allows us to bridge the inputs so that it's a single input that runs all 3 combinations of the speaker. So the tweeter, the mid-range, and the mid-bass. By removing those jumpers is that we can now allows us to biamp or segment the mid-range and the tweeter away from the mid-bass drivers and the potential submodules. So the reality is that I will tell you from all of my experience, our engineers did an amazing job of doing the balance. So I generally, for the most part, try to recommend that we leave the jumpers in, that we don't biamp, because the balance is really, really good. In situations where I would recommend removing the jumpers is when we are utilizing more than 2 submodules. So and again, it is scalable, as I mentioned, so we can have 1 submodule, 2 submodules, 4 submodules, 6 submodules. I've actually got the schematic all the way up to 64 submodules per speaker if you really want to get crazy. But and that's where we would buy amp, because I think it's like 9,000 watts to run that. So,
right.
And
the integration is really nice as well. I haven't put these in yet. I'm in the phase right above me upstairs. We're ready for cutting some holes, painting, and trimming, but I have started to plan a little bit. And it's really nice. A couple of screws, this little header comes off on both speakers. There's a couple of spacers. I speak a little bit to kind of the integration sense of putting these together.
Yeah, it's there was a lot of thought process put into the units, and of course, obviously, with alignments and fitments, the idea, and that's even all the way down to the detailed information of the grill, as an example, where we include a grill bridge within the subwoofer, so that we can have the grill integrate as a single unity or single entity. And actually, I think if you scroll down a little bit more, there's even a better picture of that grill there.
That's that one.
So with it is that we have headers. All the grills are detented on the end, so we give both the end caps in horizontal and vertical applications. And then, of course, with the subwoofer, we include that grill bridge as well. So all of the grills can be custom colored, including the caps and the bridge pieces as well, so they can really seamlessly blend into the space.
Is there any preferred guidance about kind of putting these together? If you have one above or below, or is it like maybe more application specific than that?
So installation is I mean, installation with all speakers is obviously key, but we've had, we launched these in 2021, this product. And of course, with it is that it took us a long time to get people kind of thinking outside the box. As I mentioned, they've been building theaters for 50 years, and to try and get them to think about doing something differently was a bit challenging. So a part of that teaching was that installation practices were key. Things like, I had dealers or end consumers that were placing the subwoofers, mid wall. They thought that looked amazing. And it looked amazing. Unfortunately, they just didn't have any low end energy, because low end energy does tend to require that we horn load off of things like walls and corners and floors to really generate that low end energy. So that's really key for installation.
So in my case, with one sub and one speaker, better to probably put the sub module to the bottom so that it has the floor reinforcement.
Well, and with that is that we, and again, our engineers are really, really smart, is that they've developed it that the sub module is to set, generally anywhere between 2 and 6 inches off of the floor at the very bottom to start. I mean, this is covering for things like baseboards and so on like that.
Mhm.
But what the side effect of that is that when that sub module goes down low, again, to accommodate for those baseboards, and you then tie the LCR on top of it, it actually sets it right in that sweet spot of that 42 to 48 inches for that tweeter height. So that system is already built in, which is kind of cool.
Perfect. Any other considerations, I guess, when folks are thinking about architectural in-wall speakers, like best practices or recommendations, things to keep in mind as somebody's speccing out?
Gosh, I mean, there's lots of things that come into play. Obviously, room treatment is a big part of that. And I don't think that a lot of people necessarily understand room treatment. And it's scary. I mean, I came from still in the professional audio side, but I came from the automotive audio side, and about, about 10, 15 years ago when I came over to the home side, I was like, yeah, okay, cool, room treatment. And then I went down that rabbit hole and discovered very quickly I had no idea what I was talking about either. But so, that encouraged me to do a lot of research. Things like reverberation times, reverberation time for a 2-channel setup is considerably different than what it should be for a home theater. We need a very much lower reverberation time in a theater, being that we want to have discrete audio channels because of that movement. And when we have a more lively room, we lose that directionality because of that. Where on a 2-channel setup is that you're trying to create this vast open space with only 2 speakers. So you need the room to help you to do that. So that's a huge consideration into theater. Placement, as we mentioned, is very, it's somewhat critical. I mean, we've got a lot of processing these days that helps us out in that, because not every room is going to be perfect. Now, when we obviously get to the 1000 IW LCR Utopia, we need to take some considerations, especially if we are linking subwoofer modules to the speakers. We need to take consideration of the processor. The truth is, right now, to date, there's only 3 processors on the market that are capable of working efficiently with this product, and that is going to be Chernoff, the Storm audio processors, and of course the Focal Astral 16, which we designed, engineered in partnership with Storm, but built solely for this 1000 IWLCR Utopia product.
Yeah, it screams wanting to take advantage of like the waveforming stuff when you have, if you can really get all these base modules and this extension out of these speakers, I think to take the utmost value out of those features.
Well, and that's it. Is that, I mean, you're already at almost a flagship product line, and when you're at that level, you need to maintain consistency through all of the product, even into the electronic side.
From the physical perspective, going back to one of the things that you mentioned about them fitting in like basically 4-inch deep or fitting in a normal stud space. I was when I put my room together and I switched it over to architectural, I wasn't framing, I wasn't building, I was installing into what I already had without changing the major structure of the room, basement, but regularly framed walls, regular stud depths and stuff like that. So I think it's very much a pleasant experience that they're sized to fit in those kind of locations. And the other thing that I commend as well is within the line, the widths are kept. And I don't know if this was happenstance or it was purposefully by design, but as I went from a setup in here that moved from IWLCR6s behind the screen and these IW6s in my surround positions to kind of stepping each location up a level, going to the Utopias behind the screen, moving the IW6s out and putting the IWLCR6. It was fantastic that we're cutting drywall, we're making holes. If those holes differ such that the speaker going in is less wide than the one coming out, we've got a big problem. But being able to maintain the same widths and just cut higher holes and be able to swap within the line makes for an incredible upgrade potential. I don't think every in-wall speaker line takes that element into consideration.
And again, that was one thing that I always tell everyone that we at Focal are not necessarily always first to market with some products. And again, there is some stuff that we are, but one thing that we do really well is again, look and see what is happening in the market and look and build to fill in the needs and the requirements of the end consumer and of course of our dealer partners. So as you mentioned, within the different series is that we have built it, and the reality is actually as you step up, we've made it so that you could step up. So a 100 series has a little bit smaller for a portfolio than a 300. A 300 has a smaller portfolio than a 1000. So again, to that point, if you want to upgrade from a 100 to 300 to 1000, then it's easily doable. It's you're not having to do that repair work or that mudding or that patchwork to upgrade through the series, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And then of course with it is that between 300 and 1000 series is that we've made all of our in-ceiling models fully transfer. So you can take a 300 IC LCR5 as an example, has the same footprint as the 1000 IC LCR5. Same thing with a 300 and 1000 IC A6 and the ICW6. So these all have the same footprint. So it's really simple to upgrade without virtually any construction work.
Yep. Yeah, I super appreciate that. So I'll go on record when the 1001 series comes out, don't change the widths. Make them drop in width compatible.
Exactly. And of course, obviously, the last series that we're talking about is the Utopia Cinema. So we launched this product in February of 2025. So two models, the Cinema LCR and the Cinema Sub. Over the near last decade that we've been developing our custom install channels is, of course, we've been getting a lot more requests for larger product for larger projects. Up to our 1000 series, we were able to accommodate like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of seating. But then we started getting people asking us like, hey, I need 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 rows of seating, and how do you accomplish that? And of course, obviously different tiers. And so what this is that we launched these 2 new models. We're going to be starting to ship these here by hopefully before Christmas. We'll have this, but this is product where you build a room in a room for this product. The product sits at roughly 4 feet in height, 13 inches in depth. The LCR comes in at 115 pounds each, and the subwoofers at 160 pounds each. So, bring a friend to the party. But this is some really, really amazing, serious product. But the cool thing is that we have the ability to mix and match. So, we have the Utopia Cinema. We can mix and match with the 1000 series. The 1000 series can match with mix and match with the 300 series, and 300 series can mix and match with 100 series. Our only rule that we follow is that we never skip a series. So we don't mix 100 with 1000 or 300 with Utopia, with Utopia Cinema. So tons of flexibility.
My first foray into Focal, when I didn't have the architectural stuff, I had the Electras, 1038 Electras. I was using Aria bookshelves for my surrounds, and the heights on wall mount brackets and stuff. So similar to what you mentioned, kind of taking one line apart but integrating 2 different series worked well in that regard.
And that's we've taken what you were doing in the past, and have just taken that to the next level, where we can also now mix and match our floor sanding products with our custom install products as well. So, here's that example that we were talking about, utilizing technologies like waveforming or the active room treatment. This product was really built on that scale for that application.
So the front port and everything, you can really pack these into a tight cubby and get all the performance essentially.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, gosh, I've been around the company. Well, I mean, professionally, I've been around the company, even on the retail side, for 25 years with Focal. And every year they seem to come and bring something new to the table that just shocks me. As an example, the LCRs here have sensitivity of 95.5, which is really efficient. The one that really surprised me was actually on the subwoofer. The Utopia Cinema Sub has a sensitivity of 95 dB, which is, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, most subwoofers are between 83 and 88. So 95 dB was unheard of.
And that's a dual 13.
Dual 13-inch woofer, completely built from scratch. Actually, the reality is that the entire speaker setups were built from scratch. We've got a new Beryllium M-profile tweeter, new 5-inch M-profile mid-range, the new 13-inch woofers with 34 millimeters of excursion. This is product that allows you to move organs with inside the body. So it's pretty impressive.
Is that the key? Like, so between the Utopia in-wall and the Utopia Cinema then is playing loud for larger spaces. Is that the key, or still?
I mean, one of the challenges when you're talking theater is being able to accommodate based on space. There's kind of a standard out there. They state that you must be able to maintain or achieve between 100 and 105 dB at whatever the main listening area is, to be quote unquote, THX certified or whatever it may be. But on the 1000 series, as I mentioned, we made it scalable so that you could really have flexibility from, a couple hundred square feet all the way up into, maybe 1,000 square feet. But once we got above 1,000 square feet or even around 1,500 square feet, it just became, potentially financially, unmanageable to maintain high SPLs. And that's really why Utopia Cinema was designed, so that we can maintain high SPLs, but without sacrificing sound quality. Because it's easy to make something really loud, and it's, somewhat easy to make something sound really good, but it's nearly impossible to do both. Is that you generally sacrifice one or the other. And that's really where Utopia Cinema comes into play.
So a common question would be, I think, related to putting these things behind an acoustically transparent screen, whether either the cinema or the architectural speakers. Any guidance or requirements, best practice recommendation with that?
Gosh, that's been always a really tricky question because it does vary on screen materials and so on and so forth like that, and installation and so on. Generally, I tend to recommend in the 1000 series is that we generally are pretty okay within as long as we're 2 to 3 inches back from the screen itself. Because I mean, the worst thing to have is have so much energy coming off the speaker that it starts to wave the screen itself. Two is that we want to make sure that we inset into the screen enough so that we don't have any kind of shadowing caused by the frame of the screen itself from the sound. So we want to make sure that we've got that side of things. The reality is that for most of the cases is that the processor tends to be powerful enough to accommodate or to overcome any kind of screen effect that we may see. Is at least what I've experienced. I mean, there's lots of amazing screen manufacturers out there, and the we've done our tests with and without the screen, and it's pretty close. So it's more on the physical realms that we generally tend to recommend those, have those recommendations.
And then one other question I was curious to dig into a little bit, and you alluded earlier as well. Basically, the difference in the DNA of the architectural line is very much closely related to the floor standing, the box speakers. I think some folks maybe disregard or look at architectural speakers as a compromise. I love them. I've been using them for quite a while myself. So maybe can we speak a little bit more to the concept of like the is anything really lost in going from, say, a similar implementation and a matching floor standing model to the architectural speaker? What are the considerations between the packaging or those form factors?
I mean, and I'll try and be politically correct with my answer. I mean, in the general sense of it is that still somewhat holds true, where you have maybe potential manufacturers that are manufacturing or have their known DNA to manufacture in wherever it may be, wherever they stay, but then generally tends to go to another manufacturing process or another manufacturing plant to build their custom install products. And so they lose that sound signature or that DNA of the product itself. Okay. So that tends to, that statement that you're stepping down in quality tends to somewhat be true in those applications. With us being that, and again, keep in mind that our 100 series we do assemble in China, but the drivers are design engineered and manufactured in our facilities, the same facilities where we build our Tiva, the Aria, the Soper, the Canta, the Grands are all in those same facilities, and the same places where we build our 100 drivers, our 300 series, 1000 series, and now Utopia Cinema. So the advantage that we have is that being everything's all in-house, we're able to control this scenario. So when we get up into those higher series, the 300, the 1000, the Utopia products, is that there is some considerations, obviously. One, where we're not utilizing any floor space. We are utilizing some in-wall applications. But being that said is that, maybe we have to make different accommodations. Maybe it's a set of 300, or even, I mean, we're on the 1000 page. You could do a set of 1000 IW LCR6s and then have to add a small subwoofer to accommodate those low end frequencies. But sound quality wise, if you're comparing, a 1000 IWLCR Utopia 6, it's going to have a very similar sound signature to our Soper floor standing products.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's going to be a case by case scenario, obviously,
Mhm.
in those cases, but full cal is pretty simple math. You know, the price of a 1000 IWLCR Utopia with a single subwoofer is about the same price as a pair of Soper number 3s. And you're going to have very similar, if not equal, sound quality.
Gotcha. Yeah, having had both as well, especially particularly for a home theater application, to me, there's no substitute. If going architectural lets you put your speakers behind the screen, anchor that sound to where the video presentation is, I take that every day. And these Utopias, especially in this room, like they play so big. I think that was the biggest difference that I felt kind of going from the IWLCR6 to the Utopia is just the presentation of the sound stage felt like it grew, even though of course the room physically didn't. I can't wait to get them upstairs and really try them out up there.
Well, and that's exactly it. I mean, that's you know, that kind of shows you some of that technology. The M profile mid range is a big part of that. The upgraded in the tweeter is also a big part of that. And as you mentioned, you basically went from same locations, same room, and you know, just change the speakers, and it will make that big of a difference.
Perfect. So we're coming up on the hour, probably be closing up here close as we approach 6 o'clock. There's a couple questions that I've seen in the chat, a lot of listening, not a lot of conversation today. But if anybody does have questions, I'd go ahead and post them now. We'll go through these, and if any others pop up, we'll probably start winding down here. Take a look at this, Julius, one of my favorites, favorite friends, regulars here. Is there a model speaker better for music than movies and vice versa? I'm 50-50 with both. How do you feel your vocal design intent product application applies relative to music versus movies? Or
honestly, it's a wonderful question, and of course, obviously, it's going to vary on the setup. The reality is that if you know, if we're talking 100 series IW LCR 5s, accompanied by the, you know, like a subwoofer and something like that, will work really well in movies, work really well with music. Again, our product is so versatile in those applications that you're going to be happy with whether it be 100, 300, 1000 Utopia Cinema. You're going to be happy across the board. Of course, obviously, as you move up the models, you get better performance, a lot more detailed information, something like that.
And that'll apply equally, I think, to the value of either type.
I think, yeah, anywhere from 100 all the way up to our big ones are going to be pretty equal across the board.
Second question from Julius, asking about, is there any recommendation for like bipolar, dipole speakers for surround? I want to say I don't think there's any of those. There's a lot more monopoles in the line, right? Or that's pretty much the standard nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, we do still offer a couple of options in our floor standing line. So we offer that in our Aria series, as well as in the Soper series. So, but it's traditionally these days is that we are going to, you know, to more dedicated applications.
Yeah, lots more channels, all kind of more direct.
Correct.
Radiating. And then the last question here, CW Linda, the 1000 LCR in-wall states in the spec sheet 120 dB at 1 meter with 750 watt. Is that with 2x subwoofer modules attached?
So if it is in the spec sheet at that number, I would say it's probably not. The submodules would be additional on top of that.
And what is speaking of the modules, I guess we touched on this a little bit, kind of say again, what are the characteristics or the ramifications of kind of connecting the subwoofer modules, and what are the things that people should be aware of when running the speakers plus the impedance
is obviously something that you must be cognizant of. Of course, with it is that the speaker, and we kind of get into a little bit, going back into a little bit of my car world, is that resistance or impedance is also varied on frequency value. So if in such a case that we are having, one speaker, and then we add a single subwoofer, it works fine. We can add a second subwoofer, no issues at point. When we start getting past 2 submodules, when we are utilizing it with the 1000 IWLCR Utopia, is that we do start to utilize our built-in smart impedance management. So on the back of the subwoofer, we have those really cool jumpers, and we can select the subwoofer as either an 8 ohm or a 72 ohm subwoofer. So up to 2 modules, nothing has to be done. Once you get past 2, then we start making those adjustments.
Got it. All right. Anything else you'd like to comment about Focal? Final statements, thoughts, or wrap-ups? Not seeing any other pop-ins. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Chris?
Like I said, I mean, I appreciate. I'm first and foremost, thank you for having me today. It's been amazing, and being able to hang out with you. Of course, obviously, we're excited about your project just as much as you're excited about your project. I mean, it's been wonderful working with you over the last, gosh, it's time flies. It's got to be quite a while now, actually, that we've been working with you.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, and we're excited to see this, and for you to be able to show, to express this to your followers and listeners. So,
yeah, I was happy to get the theater stuff done right away when I bought this Utopia upgrade. Kind of went forward planning both rooms, but it was really at the beginning of this year. And it's just taken a while. Multiple contractors getting ghosted here and there. It's hard to find the physical work. So, but we're over that now, and almost ready to get the gear in. So it's gonna be fun. One more question from Julius. We'll call it a day. Do you have app control for your subs?
So Julius, we do not. The reason being is that the 1000, all of our subwoofers in our CI line are all passive subwoofers. So they do require amplification. In some cases, they require crossovered amplification as well. So, that could be something that we could talk about next time. Is that we have some new amplifiers, our new name CI amplifiers. Nice. Which are being super awesome, super exciting.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely revisit another topic more around the name side than the Focal side. All right, we'll let you get back to Thanksgiving dinner. And awesome. Thanks everybody for coming out. If you have more questions, post them in the chat after, and then of course, obviously stick to the channel. The vlogs are coming. I'm still predicting about maybe 10, 11-ish vlogs to get through the remainder of the project. The next one will come out Wednesday, and hopefully moving to the next further steps of the project. So again, thanks again, Chris, and thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.